Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our sixth and final webinar for this fiscal year. Thanks for joining us on this very important webinar called Caring for Ourselves While Caring for Others, Wellness for SOAR Caseworkers. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. A quick disclaimer: the views, opinions, and content expressed in this presentation do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the Center for Mental Health Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Just some webinar instructions. So the slides and materials, presenter bios, and handouts are available on the SOAR website, so you can go to this link. You'll also find them in your reminder emails for today's event, and additionally, after the webinar, you will get a link to the materials as well. The recording will be available within 1 week. Questions, you will be able to submit questions using the Q&A feature, and we'll take all questions at the end of the presentations today. So all of your lines will be muted and the chat feature is disabled, so you can certainly use the Q&A for any questions. And following the presentations, a brief evaluation we ask you to complete, and your browser will redirect you to a survey following the webinar. And you'll also be able to ask questions as part of the evaluation as well. So it's our intention that by the end of this webinar, you will learn how to incorporate some wellness strategies to promote life-work integration at your agency and also personally. You'll learn how to apply information on wellness and understand its impact on reducing stress and preventing burnout. You'll learn how to access resources. We'll share lots of those with you for your organization and community as well. And we really hope that by the end of this hour, you'll feel more relaxed, less stressed, and motivated after participating in some of the demonstrations that are part of the presentations as well. And to the extent possible, if you're able, try to create an environment for yourself that is quiet. So if you can close your door, take the phone off the hook, just so that you can really make the most of the next hour and a half. So to reach those objectives, our presenters today, first off is Dan Coladonato, who's a Senior Project Associate 2 here at the TA Center. He also, in one of his roles at the TA Center, is as the chairperson for our Wellness Committee. So he'll be presenting information on how the TA Center and Policy Research Associates looks at wellness. And Robert Statham, he is a training and technical assistance facilitator with the New York Association of Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services. He has over 20 years of experience promoting recovery focused on work for individuals with behavioral health issues. And he speaks widely in New York and nationally on the topic of wellness and preventing burnout. Next, we have Janine Yard, who is the Michigan State Lead, and also she's the training coordinator for the Housing and Homeless Services Division of the Michigan Health and Human Services Department, where she provides a lot of coordination and training in the area of wellness. And this is a passion issue for her as well. And rounding things off is Carly Keeter, who is formerly a vice president and director at Policy Research Associates. Currently, she's a principal in WKD Strategies, and she is also pursuing her PhD, and she is a registered yoga instructor. So we are so thrilled that she was able to give her time to us to do a chair yoga demonstration. And you can read more about our panelists in their bios, which will describe a lot more about their background and their passion for wellness. So doing today's welcome is Doreen Gross, who is the TA Center Project Director. Doreen?
Thank you, Pam. And a warm welcome to all of you for joining us today. On behalf of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, also known as SAMHSA, I would like to welcome you to this SOAR webinar titled Caring of Ourselves While Caring for Others, Wellness for SOAR Case Workers. Great topic for all of what's going to be covered today. Okay, so anyway, the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center knows that the position of a SOAR practitioner can be difficult due to high caseloads, reviewing medical records, interviewing applicants with significant trauma histories, and working from home. So given these demands, SAMHSA practitioners can struggle with their own mental health, exhaustion, compassion, fatigue, and even burnout. Presenters for the SOAR TA Center, SOAR Leads, presenters from the SOAR TA Center, SOAR Leads, and the other experts will provide practical strategies to reduce stress, burnout, and promote overall workplace wellness. Presenters will demonstrate self-care and self-care techniques such as meditation and chair yoga. The presentations will also cover information on wellness and its impact on burnout. We will also ask participants to share their self-care routines. So I would like to say again, welcome and thank you. Thank our presenters for their willingness to share your experience and expertise with us. So I'll turn it back over to Pam, who will be moderating our session today.
Pam, you're muted.
Thanks. Thanks, Doreen, for your support as always. And now we're going to move on to our first panelist, Dan Coladonato. Dan?
Thank you very much, Pam. And thank you everyone for attending today for this very, very important topic. My name is Dan Coladonato, and I am a project associate with the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center. And I am also a former SOAR provider of between 7 and 8 years. So I understand the stressful nature of SOAR work. It's very rewarding, but it can be very stressful. So I think the topic on today's webinar is very important for the SOAR community. So we're going to start today by asking what wellness means to you. There are many different definitions of wellness. Every individual that is here today will likely have their own unique definition of what wellness means to you or what practicing wellness means to you. And organizations as well may also have different definitions of wellness and how to implement workplace wellness strategies. So it can be helpful to spend some time thinking about what your own definition of wellness is so that you can advance your own wellness goals. Organizations and smaller teams within organizations can also benefit from collaboratively creating their own unique definitions of wellness for the organization at large. For example, at Policy Research Associates, which is where the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center is operated, we landed on a definition of wellness that is on this slide here. So the ongoing process of self-reflection and striving for a healthy balance in all aspects of life. And this was decided upon by a wellness committee that we call the Well Staff Committee that Pam had mentioned in the introduction. And we would like to kind of start off today's webinar with hearing from you about what your definition of wellness is for yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to enable the chat function, the Zoom chat function. And if you feel comfortable doing so, if you could enter, take a little bit of time to enter into the chat what wellness means to you. All right, self-care, stopping work at 5, feeling physically and mentally at ease, getting enough sleep, self-awareness, setting workplace boundaries. Wow, this is awesome. It's hard for me to even read them. They're coming in so quick. Work boundaries, respectfulness to others. I like that one. Eating well, taking a couple of 15-minute breaks. Yoga, walking, enjoyment with work, mutual respect of other coworkers, using personal time off. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Like I said, everyone is likely to have their own definition of wellness. And we just hope that today's presentation can kind of supplement what you already do for your own personal wellness and perhaps what your organization does to promote wellness within the organization. All right, so I would like to share a few resources and just a little bit about some of the internal work that we have done at Policy Research Associates and the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center to develop what we call a wellness framework to help support and promote individual staff wellness as well as the collective organizational wellness. So we hope this information and these resources that you can explore after this webinar will help to guide and supplement your own personal wellness plan and your organization's wellness plan. So at PRA, we utilize the 8 dimensions of wellness as a framework for individual staff wellness. These 8 dimensions of wellness include physical, intellectual, financial, environmental, spiritual, social, occupational, and emotional wellness. And on this slide, you will find a link to a SAMHSA resource that's entitled Creating a Healthier Life, a Step-by-Step Guide to Wellness. And this resource discusses the 8 dimensions of wellness in much more depth than I'm going to go into today, and provides suggestions for improving your wellness practices in each of the 8 areas of wellness. Also on this slide, you'll find a link to an internal resource that we have at Policy Research Associates that contains fact sheets for each of the 8 dimensions of wellness that we encourage you to explore. Concerning workplace wellness, we at Policy Research Associates developed a kind of a different wellness framework outside of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we utilized an organization called WellCOA's definition of wellness, and they outline 7 areas of creating and supporting workplace wellness initiatives, including health, meaning, safety, connection, achievement, growth, and resiliency. And on this slide, you'll find a link to more information about WellCOA's definition of wellness and these 7 areas of workplace wellness. So as I previously mentioned, the 8 dimensions of wellness can be used to develop your own wellness plan that works best for you. Not everyone will practice the same wellness strategies as the other person. So I just wanted to kind of provide a few examples, and on this slide there's a link that you can explore for more ideas of different wellness strategies within each of the 8 dimensions of wellness. But a few examples are for physical wellness. This can be defined as recognizing the need for physical activity, healthy foods, getting enough sleep. Examples of activities or practices to improve physical wellness could be trying to incorporate yoga into your life. This can be done at home. It can be done using a yoga guidebook. You can find all sorts of yoga videos on the internet, or participate in a group or class setting. Some yoga classes have kind of a pay what you can model, while others are sometimes offered free. Many yoga users report that as a result of practicing yoga, they were motivated to exercise more regularly, and several reported that they were motivated to eat healthier. And this has a connection with, yoga can also have a connection with the emotional health, and many yoga users report reduced stress because of practicing yoga. And then later today, we're going to have a great demonstration of chair yoga practice that can be practiced in the office as well. So we're looking forward to that. Another example is the intellectual wellness. That dimension of wellness can be defined as recognizing your creative abilities and finding ways to expand your knowledge and skills. An example of this could be starting to incorporate cooking more into your life, and this can be linked with intellectual, physical wellness, I should say, People who frequently cook meals at home often eat healthier and consume fewer calories than those who cook less. This is according to a Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health Research. So again, this is just a few examples that I'm providing, but these links to these different resources on these last couple slides go a lot more in depth into the different wellness suggestions and strategies that are covered in the 8 dimensions of wellness. So in terms of workplace wellness strategies, we just really wanted to kind of briefly share a few ideas that we have incorporated into our workplace at PRA and at the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center. We saw the need to make workplace wellness something that was visible and something that was discussed frequently and often. So we established an internal wellness committee. As I said, we call it the Well Staff Committee. We meet quarterly. At the committee, we discuss and plan for different kind of interactive workplace activities that we call wellness challenges. And these are often kind of fall in line with the 8 dimensions of wellness, or related to the 8 dimensions of wellness. So these include company-wide step challenges, sleep challenges, hydration challenges, and mindfulness challenges. We also have planned what we call brown bags, or quarterly wellness teach-ins, to equip staff with information about wellness strategies that they can take and use for themselves. So some examples of these brown bag topics, and these are generally, conducted by our staff. Occasionally we might have an outside person come in, but they're generally conducted by our staff. And some examples of these brown bags include discussions about mindfulness and meditation. We also have invited our EAP provider to come and talk about the different EAP services in more depth that are available to staff, so that they can use those resources if they need to. And then we also have a wellness blog, and we ask staff to write blog posts, short blog posts about how they're implementing wellness strategies in their life that they can share with their coworkers if they feel comfortable doing so. So again, we just kind of, I wanted to provide some of this information about some of the work that we're doing internally, in the hope that some of the ideas might help supplement what you and your organization is already doing to support workplace wellness and individual wellness as well. All right, so before I turn it back over to Pam to introduce our next presenter, I wanted to take everyone here through a guided breathing exercise, a guided mindfulness activity. And so I'm gonna just take about 10 to 15 seconds for everyone to just kind of get in a comfortable position, and we will go through this guided breathing exercise. And one thing I'll mention before we get started is, if at all possible, I know some of you are probably tuning in from busy and hectic office spaces. So to the extent possible, if you can find a quiet space, again, to the extent possible. And also, if you could either minimize or close your email or any other applications that you're working on, so that you can fully participate in the exercise. All right, a few things to know before we begin. During this mindfulness and meditation practice, you will not think nothing. You will not stop your mind. You will not solve all of life's problems in a few moments of silence. There is no right or wrong way to practice. You are simply going to sit and breathe. Expect nothing from this experience but to sit and breathe. So before we get started, posture is important. So you want to be comfortable so that you stay awake. So that's important. So please sit in your chair. There's no need to sit on the floor with your legs crossed. Try to keep your back as straight as you can. Shoulders relaxed. Hands rested gently on your knees or in your lap. Your feet flat on the floor. You can keep your eyes closed if comfortable or slightly open. And try to comfortably breathe through your nose or your mouth, whatever's most comfortable for you. So we'll start with taking 3 deep breaths. As you settle into a natural rhythm of the breath, know throughout your practice, you will probably hear sounds inside your room, sounds outside. Try not to think of these as distractions or disruptions. Simply what's happening around us as we sit and breathe. Begin to notice the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Gently guide the attention and focus to the stomach or chest. As you breathe in, feel them rise. Breathing out, feel them fall. Simply continue this practice, observing the sensation of your breath. Notice the mind as it wanders. Release that thought. Return attention and focus to the breath. Let go of expectations or judgments of your practice. All we're doing is sitting and breathing. We're learning to be comfortable in the stillness, knowing what it is like to just sit and breathe. And we'll finish up taking 3 deep breaths again. Slowly open the eyes. Slowly begin to move. The most important part of meditation practice is now, immediately after, when you realize that any sort of quiet, still, peace, or calm that you feel, or any sort of racing of your mind, has gone away. Meditation's definitely not easy. It's not always fun, but it's free, and it only takes a few minutes every day. And a busy racing mind. And I don't know about everyone here, but I know I have that pretty often. So thank you everyone for participating in that. That could be, you can shorten that exercise to a minute or two, and could be something that is practiced individually or even with your coworkers at work, maybe at the start of each day or before weekly team meetings. So with that, I'm gonna turn it back over to Pam.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Thanks so much for that. Now we're going to move on to Robert Statham, who's going to talk a little bit about avoiding and preventing burnout.
Thank you so much. And Dan, thank you for that exercise. I feel so calm now. And, sometimes before a presentation, you do get a little bit of, you have a little bit of anxiousness. So I appreciate the fact that you had that exercise before I actually got on to do my part here. So thank you. And thank you everybody for being here today. So I'm just going to go back because my section of it is really about counteracting burnout, understanding it, recognizing it, so we can have a better quality of life, so we can have wellness as a part of our life. And so the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be analyzing what it looks like. Because sometimes, we just kind of get on the hamster wheel of working, and we just kind of do the same things, and we don't realize that it's taking a lot out of us. So it's really a part of being reflective in the work that we do as well. We're also going to explore the ways in which it impacts us in a lot of negative ways. And I'm not just talking about how it has an impact on our mental health, but what does it do to our physical health? What does it do to our social health? It really has an impact, and we're going to be talking about how those things kind of intersect. And finally, I've got a real cool exercise that I'm going to share with you and some other suggestions, but the exercise is something called a coping card. And it's such a cool tool that you can use, just really use it at any time, that can be used really, really quickly to kind of pick your day up. So we'll do that at the end of my presentation here. All right. So this feeling of a physical exhaustion and emotional exhaustion, and both mental and physical, has a impact on how we work. And not only that, but it really has an impact on the people that we serve. Because, when we're not well and we're not taking care of ourselves, it has an impact on how other people that we serve see themselves. So we really have to take time to really avoid this thing called burnout. Now, take a look at this list here. Depression, anxiety, sleep disturbances, impaired memory, decreased empathy. So I'm just tired of listening to people, basically. I can't really focus. I'm bored. I maybe even start to overeat. When I look at this list, it's kind of interesting that for a lot of us in the field, these are the reasons why people come and see us. Yet we are experiencing these same things due to the work that we're doing. Whether it is anxiety or depression or, sleep disturbances is my favorite because, when I'm really stressed, I tend to sleep it. I tend to have dreams about work and situations at work. So it impacts us in a lot of different ways. All of these ways are the same reasons why people come to see us. Then it starts to develop what I would refer to as behaviorally, where we kind of develop this negative attitude about work, about the work that we're doing, about our coworkers, right? Then we start to have or miss days. We start to be absent a lot. That impacts us leaving the field. And a lot of people have left the field. And all of these things, especially when I'm talking about negative, the negative attitude in itself is a problem. But when I'm talking about absenteeism and turnover, it's not just an issue for that person that is absent and is missing work, or who leaves the field. That has an impact on everybody else that's left or is currently working in the field. Because how many times have you been asked to cover a case or two while somebody's out, or while they're waiting to fill a position because they can't find the right candidate? You are affected. So everybody is globally impacted when we see other people burning out. That can lead to decreased morale with everybody, decreased collaboration. And I would actually add, it turns into forced collaboration, because your supervisor comes to you and says, John is out, Mary, you're taking his cases. These people have to be seen. So that doesn't work either. Some of us may turn to vices, maybe increased alcohol consumption or other substances to make us feel better. And then we may even start to overwork. We constantly work. Now, let me give you an example of organizationally how overwork can be sometimes inadvertently rewarded. So there's an agency here in New York that I had heard about, that they had their Employee of the Year banquet. And they recognized someone who worked constantly, worked in the evenings, worked on weekends, was there during his lunch hour. This person was rewarded for overworking. And I asked myself, what was the message that sent to everybody else that was taking their breaks as they needed it, that didn't work every single weekend? So as an organization, we have to be mindful. Are we really rewarding too much work, or are we rewarding people that are constantly working? Really, it's important that we kind of reflect and recognize when we're doing that. And then the physical issues start. We might have back pain, neck pain, maybe flu-like symptoms start to appear because you've worn yourself down. Any of maybe previous existing conditions may start, or circulatory problems, even migraines or whatever. You're going to start to develop some physical manifestations of burnout, basically. And again, we know for sure now that our mental health impacts our physical health, that our physical health impacts our mental health. Everything is kind of related. And again, when we're not taking care of ourselves at work, and we're leading to burnout, it's going to impact us. Not to mention ourselves socially. So when you're tired because you've worked hard all day, or maybe even worked 2 hours over, 3 hours over, do you really have time to go out and meet friends? You're probably tired. You probably don't want to do that. Or, I know for myself, if I've had a bad day and I've just been so stressed, I want to end my day as soon as possible. I'm in bed by 8 o'clock because I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go out and socialize. That's going to impact me as well. So we have to remember that physical, social, and your emotional and mental health are impacted when we are burned out. Not to mention the fact that we are less compassionate to people that we serve. Now, as I said earlier, we have to be well in order to do good work. And this is a perfect example from Nancy Smith. She says, just like you do on a plane, you need to put your own oxygen mask on first before trying to help, because it doesn't work. When you're so overwhelmed or when you're burned out, how can you be of help to other people? And honestly, you can't. So we have to put ourselves first in terms of us being well. Now, some individuals practice self-care in these ways. Maybe it's identifying and managing, challenges that you have. And this really is about reflection. What am I noticing about myself in terms of, am I seeing burnout kind of coming on me? Am I able to manage certain things that I wasn't able to manage before? Am I aware of certain vulnerabilities? Let me just use an example. So for myself, I know that I'm kind of approaching the burnout stage when I had trouble delegating, when I'm just kind of saying yes all the time, and I don't delegate any of the work that I can actually delegate because I want to do it all. That is my North Star in terms of recognizing I'm getting close here to kind of checking out, so to speak. And so you really need to be reflective and aware of where your personal vulnerabilities are in terms of burnout. Maybe it's about delegation. Maybe it's about saying no. Where do your vulnerabilities lie? Know them. Because if you don't know them, you're going to find yourself in the burnout stage and you didn't recognize the science that led you there. Now, this last bullet here kind of talks about achieving more balance in your life. And I'm going to say something that not a lot of people would say about the work-life balance. The work-life balance doesn't have to be 50-50. There are some individuals, and my CEO, Harvey Rosenthal, works all the time. And you know what? He loves it. He gets tremendous joy out of it. So his balance is probably 70-30. I'm not saying you have to have 50-50. I'm just saying you have to find where your balance is and work from that balance. Because if you're out of balance, like anything else in life, it doesn't work. So find your balance. And again, I keep going back to this idea of being reflective. Think about these things and notice these things. So there's been several studies in magazines. We're talking about Forbes and Fast Company. These are business magazines here that show that there's a higher job satisfaction, lower turnover, and fewer physical and emotional signs of burnout and job fatigue when we see that our jobs have meaning and purpose. Again, what I like to do is when I'm at work, I like to look for my, quote, moments of joy. And here's the thing, these moments of joy at work, or even in life for that matter, because as a matter of fact, I got this idea of these moments of joy when I had to go and care for my mother who had Alzheimer's back in the day. And I would go and care for her. I would go 2 hours down to the southern tier in New York and care for her. And I remember a conversation that I had with my sister. And I said, geez, it's not the same coming down here anymore. We used to get together for celebrations and birthdays and parties and things like that. And it just wasn't the same. And she gave me some really good advice. And she said, Rob, you're looking at it the wrong way. You got to look for your moments of joy. And I tell you what, I found a moment of joy that I had missed my entire life with my mom one of those weekends. It was the fact that I could have a conversation with her, a normal conversation because she had Alzheimer's. And she recognized and understood what I was saying for 10 full minutes. That was my moment of joy. And believe me, when you don't have that, it is a moment of joy. So maybe it's little things at work. Maybe it's a boss that offers you support when you're going through a tough time. Maybe it's a funny joke that somebody says that you're laughing about it all day. Find those moments of joy. Because here's the thing, guys. If you're not looking for these moments of joy, you will not find them. And they will not be helpful for you. Now, what we can do is we can tie meaning to what we do. So I want to ask, and we can enable either the Q&A or the chat. I want to see or ask you, does your job have meaning? And I'm not talking about like just general meaning. I'm talking about personal meaning here. Because personal meaning really is a connector to us. And so can you share maybe a real accomplishment that you had at work that really impacted you and really demonstrated to you that, yes, my job has meaning? A lot of people are saying yes, that their job has meaning. And it's so important that we connect to that meaning. Because again, you'll find yourself on that hamster wheel, just going through, doing it, and doing it, and doing it, and not realizing the impact that you're having on an individual, whatever their status, so to speak. I'm seeing a lot of things come in that give you meaning and joy. And for some of us who've been in the field a long time, it's almost kind of reverting back to why we entered the field in the first place. Why did we enter? It's been a long time, but I need to tap into why I got into the field. I'm loving seeing all of this. So props to everybody, because this is an important question that we should be asking ourselves consistently, because this can be a real motivator to helping our wellness and helping us feel well as we do this hard, important, meaningful work. And it is meaningful. Love it. I love all this, seeing all these things. So if you remember anything else from my section here, is that your job does have meaning, and to look for ways to tap in to the way that meaning is purposeful for you. And like I said, maybe it means going back in time a little bit to really reflect on how, why you got into the field. And I kind of refer to it as the knowing your why, because the why, if you know your why, it's going to impact you, how you do your work and what work you do. Thank you so much for those comments. Awesome. For some of us, this is some ways in which we can really do good work in terms of the battle of compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is when we've kind of reached our limit. I just don't have anything more I can give. But there's ways to battle it. And the first thing is to reflect. Again, I've been talking about this ever since I got on here, is to pay attention to emotions and your well-being. Keep an eye on those things. Refocus. So pay attention to the smaller things that you can control. Some of the larger things we can't control. I can't control that there's high turnover. I can't control that, we're filling a lot of positions. There's a lot of empty positions. I can control what I can control. So focus on those things. Refuse to lose that battle. Do not give up. Create some healthy boundaries. So you may need to have some healthy boundaries with people that you support, with coworkers, with managers. It's fine. It's healthy to do so. Start from a regulating, base of strength. So work from your strengths. They will power you through those times that you're not feeling so well. Reducing means kind of maybe removing the unnecessary. And there's a lot of things we do in our day that maybe we just have done it for so long that maybe we don't need to do it anymore. One technique that I've heard over and over again is just touch one piece of paper once. Because if you go back and, kind of look at that paper or work from that email constantly over and over again, it's additional work that you really didn't have to do. And finally, reconnect. Utilize the people that you go to for support, because they're your supporters. They're there to help you. And the other thing I'm going to mention, it's not on the slide, but I'm going to add another one. And that is disconnect. Disconnect from social media. Disconnect from your phone. It's very interesting that I have a brother that's in the field, and every once in a while he has some days where or actually weeks, where he turns off his social media. He doesn't use his phone for anything other than work. And those are the happiest times I see him. Now, I call it, he's in a state of oblivion as to what's going on, but he's so happy and so just so at peace with himself. And sometimes it's our phones that cause us even more stress. So if you have the ability just to shut that thing off even for a little while, it's actually very healthy to do that. All right. For some of us, we might want to put together an individual wellness plan. If you're not familiar with WRAP plans, Wellness Recovery Action Plans, it's similar in nature. We're going to put together this plan so we can power through when we are in crisis or when we're approaching burnout. First thing, again, assessing your vulnerability. Suspend any negative judgments you have about yourself in this plan. start from that position of strength. Take a look at the barriers, the things that are getting in the way of you, or that have you hurtling toward burnout. You're going to pick some good resources. Maybe it's, this slide deck that you're seeing here, or the recording, or a friend. Use your resources. There's plenty of resources out there. You want to pick a particular focus. So maybe for me, it would be, I know my focus is, to start to delegate, because when I don't delegate, those things start to lead me toward that burnout stage. And in order for me to kind of work on that, I have to pick an accountability partner. That's just somebody who's going to keep me on track. And I find it helpful. It's almost like when you go to the gym, you're better off going with somebody, because you're just, you almost kind of feel like I have to go now because I got to take my friend. It's the same thing with this type of thing. All righty. One last thing before I get to this exercise. This is another tool, is journaling. Journaling is great because it kind of helps you keep track of things. It's a great reflection of your day. Finding a mindful moment is also part of that. You can look at themes of your life and ways in which you found yourself maybe depressed or anxious before, and how you got out of it. And there's all sorts of different ways to journal now. I mean, it doesn't have to be pen to paper. You could use your phone. You could use a piece of art, all different sorts of ways. And I can tell you, I've been journaling for 42 years now. And I can't wait. Even when I'm going through something tough, I got to get it out by writing. So journaling, there's so many different ways for this to be effective for you. All right, so let's take a look at the exercise. And again, we'll disable the chat here. This is called a coping card. And I want you to consider 3 to 5 things that make you feel better just by thinking about them. 3 to 5 things. And if you could type what they are in the chat box, just by thinking about them, it makes you feel better. What would they be? Puppies, food. I'm on for both. Nature, hot bath, my children. Sunshine, music. This is awesome. They're coming in so fast I can't even see them. Kids. So a lot of these are generally things that I always see when I do this exercise. Kids are a really big deal. Family, pets are big. And the great thing about a coping card is it can change. I had a class where I had this person that had put their mom on their coping card for the first time in 3 years, because they had passed and it took them a while to get over that or to get past that. Now they were remembering their mom in a much better place. And so they added their mom. So all of these things that you're putting, it takes very little effort for us to do an exercise like this. And this is one of the things that, Pat Deegan kind of refers to as personalized medicine. These are things that we can do, this idea of a coping card that we don't need a prescription for. We can just take a bit of time and write down these things or think about these things that bring us joy and meaning to our lives. This will help. I guarantee you, this will help in your battle. Definitely help in your battle of, burnout. And so here are some of the things that people put. Balloons, beautiful sky. Again, it really is a very personal thing that you can do and does not take very little to no time. And I want to thank you. Thank you all for your time. Thanks so much. I'll end with this couple of quotes here.
Thanks, Robert. That was excellent exercise. I think everyone enjoyed that. I love reading what gives people joy in their life. So we're going to move on to Janine, who's going to share a bit about what is going on in Michigan in terms of wellness, their initiative that we can all access. Janine, we'll get to your slides too. There's Robert's contact.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I don't even know what day it is. I was thinking I was going to say happy whatever, and then I thought, I don't know what day it is, which is something that applies to what I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But we were asked to share something that we have been doing the last couple of years with our SOAR caseworkers. We have in Michigan a really great program that I'm going to share with you in a minute. But the first thing is that we decided that our practitioners, in fact, all of our homeless providers, because I work with housing and homeless services in Michigan, that all of our homeless providers were not only stressed as usual through their work, but because of the pandemic, we were seeing people become more stressed with trying to figure out how to navigate the work that you have to do, but now having to do it through the eyes of the pandemic. So I'm going to share one of the solutions that Michigan tried to create in order to help people, specifically because we identified that there were issues because of the pandemic. We really felt that self-care was important to protect your mental health, and finding resources and support like Dan and Robert have talked about already, meditations and exercises and a hotline as well, so that people can pick up a phone and talk to a real live person, especially if they don't have a friend or a support network or family that they can talk to. So what happened was they created a safe support system that folks, anybody in Michigan can access. It can be families, parents, teenagers. They have special resources for teens that I'll show you in a minute. Our providers that are providing services to homeless individuals, our SOAR caseworkers, which most of you are, anybody can access a safe support network that can help them when they're stressed and need to turn to that safe support. So what I want to tell you about before I mention these webinars is that we created something in Michigan called Stay Well. It's actually an initiative. And the money for this came 2 years ago from FEMA. So it's federal disaster grant funding that we received to essentially provide mental health support services. But it's, as they created it, decided that in order to be helpful, they wanted to hire individuals to assist with providing services to 10 different vulnerable populations. So one of those populations is senior and older adults. I happen to be an older adult, so I was really happy to see that they were going to provide some services to me. Homeless individuals, unemployed residents, healthcare providers and first responders, school teachers and staff, people who are experiencing racial or ethnic health disparities, immigrants and people who are limited in English speaking, people with substance use disorders, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So they did this. They hired people who had some specific expertise in these areas to become outreach specialists in Michigan. And because outreach specialists can't perform their work in person during the pandemic, they had to come up with a variety of different ways to get this information out to people. So they partnered with community-based organizations, with churches or houses of worship, with COVID testing sites. And they created and marketed and hosted psychoeducational webinars, which I'm going to talk to you about here, that's on this slide. And they also provide online and printed materials with tips about staying well. And they offer virtual group counseling and support groups upon request. So there's a lot of things here. And what I'm going to share with you are some things that you all can have access to. Granted, Michigan got this pot of money to spend, and they can't provide a lot of that one-on-one kinds of counseling for people outside of our state, but they've created some fantastic webinars that you can access on their website. And these are some of the lists that they have that are recorded. So you can go in and you can watch these whenever you want to for yourself. Or you can share these with someone else. You could share these with someone that you're helping to complete an application for when you're talking to them. So hardwiring your nutrition routine. This is one of the things that I'm trying to focus on because during the pandemic, I became ill. They believe that the reason that I became ill was because of stress, not necessarily job stress, we don't know, but because of stress. And I lost about 30 pounds. I lost 12 pounds in 2 weeks. And since that happened, and now that I've gotten better, my nutrition routine has changed dramatically. So now I've put on weight, and that becomes something that I stress about, right? So hardwiring your nutrition routine so that you get into just a habit of eating appropriately and not constantly bouncing around with diets and those kinds of things. So there's something there. Yoga and breathing for wellness. And Dan talked about it, and we're going to have Carly's presentation at the end here. Exercise for depression. I don't know about any of you, but I do know lots of colleagues that became depressed during, the beginning of the pandemic. I know we're still not completely done with it, but when it was in full swing and people didn't know how to cope with it without being able to go outside, without being able to hug family members, with feeling like they needed to be at home and working remotely all the time and not being able to go to restaurants and talk to their friends, all of those social things that we were that we depend on sometimes to help balance out our life, they couldn't do. And this actually showed a way shows a way to incorporate exercise to try to tackle that depression that so many people were starting to feel and not even be able to identify necessarily. Okay. Meditation, mindfulness practice. This one I love. There's the special one on music for mindfulness. And there's a particular group, a musical group that was involved with this presentation. Expressive art for healing and transforming. One of the things that they've done is they've held a series for parents and kids, and it's in the early evening, and they tell you ahead of time what kinds of supplies to have on hand, but they do art activities. The parents and the kids do the art activity right, while the facilitator is there online with them. And that's been so well attended that they've repeated it multiple times. The other one that Rob was just talking about was essentially practicing gratitude when you're looking for joy. At the same time, thinking about that situation with his mother, along with recognizing that joyful moment, knowing that you're grateful that you had that joyful moment, right? So when we end, one of the things you'll get is I'll make sure that you have the website, and you can just go to the website, open these up, and watch them at any time that you feel that you need to. And it also can give you ideas for potentially webinars that you might want to organize or create in your own area.
Yeah.
Okay. This next slide is wellness webinars for specific populations. And so you'll get this slide and you'll be able to click on any one of these links that may have to do with people that you directly work with in your position. Does it sometimes feel like the pandemic drained the joy from your life? I think that, at least for me, it did in the beginning. Now I'm finding it again, but
Janine, in the
yes.
interest of time, we're going to
Oh, yes.
Carly's video, but what's so great about our slides is you have active live links. So everyone
Yes.
click on when they get the slides and be able to peruse the ones that fit their interests. So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, thank you so much. And everyone will have the slides available to them so they can check out. And then even in your own state, find out if you have a wellness initiative. Just Google your state wellness resiliency. Your state may have used these COVID funds and disaster preparedness types of funds to do similar events. I know our state did. I was glad to see that. So we're going to get ready for Carly to come up. Thank you, Janine. And we're going to prepare for Carly. Again, similar to Dan's advice, get yourself comfortable. And the sound may be low, so we encourage you to boost your speakers. And just so you know, this video will be available on YouTube. The sound quality may be a little bit better, but just keep your offices quiet and you should be able to hear quite well. And Carly, I'm going to throw it to you just to introduce your slide, your video.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Janine, I'm so looking forward to clicking through a lot of those links. So much wonderful information. As Pam just mentioned, anything that you can do at this point to create a space where you can sit quietly and maybe move around a little bit in your chair would be wonderful. Thank you so much. If you have not tried chair yoga before, for maybe today being the day that you're going to try it, it's a very, very gentle 20 minutes. And with that, I know we're running low on time, so I don't know, Pam or Susie, if you want to get it started.
Hi, my name is Carly. Thank you so much for joining today's 20-minute chair yoga. Before we get started, take a moment to make any adjustments that you need to make to your space. Maybe move your chair a little bit, maybe adjust the direction that you're sitting so that you're not staring right at the computer screen for the next 20 minutes. We're also going to need to move around our chair a little bit. So if you want to just put your arms out to either side, make sure you have enough space to reach your arms out to the side without hitting anything. That would be wonderful. When you've made any adjustments, take a seat on the edge of your chair. Maybe rock a little from side to side, feeling how the weight changes from right to left. And then coming to sit in the middle with your weight evenly distributed between your left and your right seat bone. Place both feet on the ground, about hips distance apart. Sit tall, reaching through the crown of the head, and draw the belly button into the spine to engage the core. And you can place both of your hands on your knees, resting them palm down for some grounding. Let's begin today's practice with a reminder to listen to our bodies. If something feels good and feels right, of course, continue, maybe stretch into it a little bit more. If something doesn't feel quite right or it's not within your reach to make that pose, then it's not for today. So listen to our bodies. Take a deep inhale through the nose. And as you do so, reach tall through the crown of the head. Let your gaze be soft in front of you. Maybe find a point to focus on. Maybe the floor. If it feels comfortable to you, you can also close your eyes. And take a deep exhale through the nose. And breath in through the nose. And breath out through the nose. Letting your shoulders draw away from the ears. The shoulder blades melt down the back as you find symmetry in your inhalations and your exhalations. Take a few more breaths on your own rhythm. Inhale. And then a deep exhale through the nose. We're going to do a 3-part breath. So for this, if you'd like, you can place your left hand on your belly and your right hand over your heart. Again, finding a soft gaze in front of you or keeping the eyes closed. Think about where the air is going in terms of 3 equal parts: the belly, the rib cage, and then filling all the way up to the collarbones. So on the inhalation, feel the belly fill with air, and then feel the rib cage fill with air, and then all the way up to the collarbones fill with air. And then exhale, releasing the air from the collarbones to the rib cage to the belly, and then releasing all of the air from the belly. Inhale, fill the belly with air. Fill the rib cage with air, and then fill all the way up to the collarbones. And then exhale, releasing from the collarbones to the rib cage to the belly, and all of the air from the belly. Inhale, fill the belly with air. Fill the rib cage with air. Fill all the way to the collarbones with air. And then exhale, releasing air from the collarbones to the rib cage to the belly, and then pushing all of the air out of the belly. Inhale, fill the belly with air. Fill the rib cage with air. And fill all the way to the collarbones with air. Exhale, releasing from the collarbones to the rib cage to the belly, and then all of the air from the belly. And return to your normal breath, the natural breath, releasing your hands down to your knees, again resting palms face down, shoulders drawing away from the ears, sitting tall through the crown of the head, drawing the belly button to the spine to engage the core. With your inhale, reach the crown of the head tall, and then exhale, chin to right shoulder. Inhale, return to center, and then exhale, chin to left shoulder. Inhale, return to center, and then exhale, chin to right shoulder. Inhale, return to center. Exhale, chin to left shoulder. Inhale, return to center. Exhale, chin to right shoulder. Inhale, return to center. And last time, exhale, chin to left shoulder. And then inhale, bring your head back to a natural position, facing forward, gaze soft. From here, we're going to do some shoulder rolls. So first, let's bring the shoulders up towards the ears, and then roll them down and back, bringing the shoulder blades together. When you release the shoulders all the way from the ears, bring them forward towards one another, and bring them up again towards the ears. So very slow shoulder rolls. Back and down, shoulder blades together. Bring them forward towards one another and then up towards the ears. One more in this direction, so bringing them back towards one another, drawing the shoulder blades together, bring the shoulders away from the ears. Roll the shoulders forward towards one another and then up towards the ears. When you bring them up towards the ears, pause for a minute and then bring the shoulders forward, drawing them forward towards one another, all the way down away from the ears, and then draw them back, shoulder blades together. Bring the shoulder blades up the shoulders up to the ears, bring them forward and down. One more, draw them back and together, shoulder blades, squeeze the shoulder blades together, shoulders up to ears, and then release the shoulders away from the ears, releasing any tension, letting the shoulder blades melt down the back. Let's inhale the arms out to the side, reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling, gaze towards the ceiling, shoulders away from the ears, palms face one another, belly button to spine to engage the core, and then exhale, release the arms down to your side. Inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling, shoulders away from the ears. Stay grounded through your seat and through the floor. Palms face one another, gaze is soft, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, release the arms down to your side. Just finding some movement. Inhale, look up towards the ceiling, fingertips reach for the ceiling. Palms face one another. From here, we're going to bend the elbows to 90 degrees, palms face forward, gaze is forward and soft. Draw the shoulder blades in towards one another, opening across the collarbones. And then inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling, palms face one another. Gaze is soft, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, bend the elbows to 90 degrees, shoulder blades squeeze towards one another, opening up across the collarbones, palms face forward. Inhale, reach up towards the ceiling, palms face one another. Stretch through the fingertips. Gaze is soft, shoulders are melting away from the ears. Belly button engaged, reaching for the spine, and then exhale, elbows to 90 degrees, palms face forward. Last one, inhale, up towards the ceiling. Gaze is soft. And then exhale, release the arms back down towards your side. Inhale and bring the arms out to a T, palms face down. You're going to slowly twist to the right. Left hand will reach for the outside of the, the right leg. You're going to reach your right hand back and take hold of the back of your chair. Slowly twisting towards the right as you reach tall through the crown of the head. Ground down through your left hip. Reach tall through the crown of the head. Release the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, reach tall. And then exhale, maybe twist a little bit more. Inhale, you can return to center, place the hands back down on the knees, and take a big exhale. Inhale, bring the arms out to a T, palms face down. We're going to slowly twist to the left, bringing the right hand to the outside of the left leg. Bring your left hand back to reach a hold of the chair. Inhale, reach tall through the crown of the head. Gaze is soft, shoulders are melting away from the ears. Ground down through the right seat bone. reach tall on your inhalation. And then as you exhale, twist slowly to the left. Inhale, reach tall. Maybe push a little into the outside of that left leg. And then twist a little bit more. Breath in, reach tall. And then exhale, return to neutral, bringing the palms down to the knees. Taking a deep breath in through the nose and releasing air through the mouth. From here, if it's available to you, if you don't have any arms on the side of your chair, you can turn to the left slowly. If you do have arms on your chair, you can actually just stay where you're seated and use the armrest for this side stretch. So you're going to twist slowly to the left. Place the left hand on the back of the chair. You're going to inhale the right hand up towards the ceiling. Palm faces into the midline. Reach tall through the right side of your body. And then as you exhale, slowly bring that right hand across the midline, reaching down or grounding down through the right seat bone, reaching tall through those fingertips, the right fingertips, and creating a little bit of a side stretch, a release through the right side of your body. Inhale, reach tall through the fingertips. Maybe open your heart up a little towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, you can release the arm down. Return to face forward on your seat. Take a deep inhale through the nose and a deep exhale through the mouth. I'm going to do that same stretch on the other side. So you can slowly, again, either turn to the right, or if you have the armrest, you can just stay facing forward and use the armrest. So bring your right hand to rest on the back of your chair or on the armrest. As you inhale, bring the left hand up, reaching the fingertips towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, you can slowly lean towards the midline, so leaning in towards the right, grounding down through that left seat bone, reaching tall through the left fingertips. Take an inhalation and reach tall, and then exhalation, maybe lean into or stretch into the movement a little bit more. As you inhale, maybe bring your heart up to face the ceiling, slightly opening the heart up to the ceiling again, reaching through the fingertips, grounding down through the left seat bone. One more inhale. And as you exhale, release the arm down and return to face forward. Let's take a moment to release any tension that we're holding in our wrists. So if you want to bring both of your hands out in front of you, palms face down, and then you can just twist the hands in towards one another a few times. Release any tension that you might be holding in the wrists. And then maybe reverse direction. If it feels available to you, you can shake the wrists out. From here, extend the left hand in front of you, palm faces out, fingertips up. You're going to take your right hand, take a hold of those left fingertips, and slowly push into the heel of the left hand, drawing the left fingertips back towards the body. Very gentle. Take a deep breath in, and then maybe as you exhale, push a little into the heel of the hand, drawing the fingertips back towards the body. And then you can release that. Stretch. Extend the right hand out in front of you, palm faces forward, fingertips up towards the ceiling. Take your left hand, take a hold of the right fingertips. Extend the right heel of the palm forward. and draw the right fingertips back towards the body. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. And you can release that and maybe shake your wrists out a little bit. I'm going to draw the left knee up if it's available to you and take a hold of your knee. You can either interlace your fingers and hold on to the knee or however is most comfortable for you. And from here, let's just do some ankle rolls. So maybe twist the ankle or roll the ankle inside to out, clockwise, and then change direction. Just rolling the ankle out. Keep your gaze soft and the shoulders away from the ear. And the breath neutral. Release the left foot down to the ground. Pick up the right leg. Again, take your hands and either hold on to your knee, interlace your fingers, wrap them around the knee. Let's do some ankle rolls in that right foot, that right ankle. And from here, you can switch direction. Keep the gaze soft. The breath neutral. Release the right foot down to the ground. Again, finding equal balance between the grounding of your right foot and your left foot, the right seat bone and the left seat bone. Reaching tall through the crown of the head. Letting the shoulders melt down the back. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. And a deep exhale through the mouth. Let's take 2 more of those cleansing breaths. So a deep inhale through the nose. And a deep exhale through the mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose. And a deep exhale through the mouth. Thank you for sharing your time with me today and your practice. Be well.
Thanks, Carly. We'll get everyone now back up, all the panelists, and maybe Carly can share some closing thoughts. But I know that was so relaxing, the instruction, but also the sounds of the farm and nature was super relaxing as well. So we have a few minutes left for Q&A, and we had actually, I'm going to advance the slides just a little bit here. You can pose a question in the Q&A box. Here are some of our resources. So Dan talked about the wellness blog, so you can click these on and see what PRA staff has written. We also have some other resources that are really helpful. But a couple of questions came in from SOAR practitioners that said, hey, I'm the only one here doing SOAR. I'm getting burnt out. I'm getting overwhelmed. What can we do about it? And maybe their supervisor doesn't understand quite the workload. They feel quite overworked. And what do you do about that? So our last slide here talks about maybe SOAR online course, maybe some additional individuals in your agency or outside agencies can take the SOAR course, and contact your SOAR TA Center liaison to talk about strategies on how to prevent burnout and getting other folks doing SOAR, using the SOAR model. That's what it's all about. So I want to throw it out maybe to Dan and Janine, who is a state lead. Maybe you can provide more thoughts on that, and maybe a staff feeling overwhelmed because they're the only one doing SOAR, and how to increase capacity maybe within their agency or community.
I can throw out a response. I think there's a couple of things. And the first thing would be that boundaries. Start out by talking to your supervisor about what you have on your plate looks like and what your workload looks like. And it's okay to sometimes just say, I can only do this much. Then the second piece would be not only to contact your state liaison, but I think having that whoever that your liaison is, or maybe there's a lead in your state somewhere that could do a presentation for your organization to see if they would have someone else get trained in your own organization. But if you have partner organizations that you collaborate with on a regular basis, I would try to connect them to someone that could do a presentation for their organization so they can learn about SOAR, what it is, why it would be like what's in it for them. Because there is some cost that goes along with this. And if they don't have a budget that would allow someone else to take on SOAR, then they're going to say, where's the money? But I think us starting with some education about it is a good place to start.
I don't know if anyone, Dan or Robert, you want to provide some thoughts, because sometimes an answer to burnout is to leave your job and go to a new job, and we don't want that. We want our SOAR providers to stay within their job. So
Yeah, I guess I would just add, echo what Janine said, which is reaching out to people that are your supporters. And I'll go back to my slide where it says control the things that you can control. Some of these bigger, caseload issues may be out of your control, and it's almost like I have to at least accept that to feel at least feel good enough to go on. And so those are the two things that I just would mention.
great tips. Right. Well, Carly, thank you for putting in so much time on your video. It was excellent, and it is available on YouTube as well. So folks, due to some early on sound quality, may have done that, may have watched it on YouTube, and that'll be available for folks to watch. It was really enjoyable. Thank you for that. Let's see. So as I mentioned, we are out of time, and I just cannot thank our presenters enough for taking so much of your time to put your presentations together and share such great resources that folks will have available when this is over with. So we have an evaluation that you'll be geared towards. Please take some time to complete the evaluation. You also have an opportunity to ask a question there as well, and we'll get back to you after the webinar for sure. And again, you can access the slides. We put the link up in the chat, and you'll also, get a link to the slides after you do the evaluation as well. So again, thank you so much, and just enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to stay well. Good night, everyone.